Fun Facts presents the 1952-53 Aston Martin DB2 and DB3, a 50's classic car. It was initially introduced in 1951. It had a production run through 1955. We're showcasing images from 51 through 55. We hope you like our video, so let's get started now. The Aston Martin DB2 is a sports car that was sold by Aston Martin from May 1950 until April 1953. The successor to the 2-liter sports model, it had a comparatively advanced dual overhead cam, 2.6-liter Lagonda straight-six engine in place of the previous overhead valve engine straight-four. It was available as a closed two-seater coupe, which Aston Martin called a sports saloon, and later also as a drop-head coupe, which accounted for a quarter of the model's total sales. The closed version had some success in racing. In 1947, David Brown bought the Aston Martin and Lagonda companies and incorporated them as the Aston Martin Lagonda Limited. Lagonda's 2.6-liter dual overhead cam straight-six engine, more powerful than the pushrod 2-liter straight-four unit in the Aston Martin 2-liter Sports, was the main objective in Brown's acquisition of the company. W.O. Bentley had supervised the engine design, which was largely by Willie Watson, an engineer with the pre-war Invicta company who had collaborated on Lagonda's pre-war V12 and also designed the short-lived post-war version. In its original form, the Lagonda Straight Six had a 78mm bore and 90mm stroke and produced 105 horsepower with dual SU carburetors. The DB2 utilized it in a shortened version of the tube frame chassis designed by Claude Hill for the Aston Martin 2-liter Sports, with a fastback coupe body designed by Frank Feeley. 3 production cars were entered for the 1949 24-hour of Le Mans, one of which became the development car for the production DB2. It had the Lagonda Straight Six, while the 4-cylinder Aston Martin 2-liter unit powered the other two. After 6 laps, in Lagonda powered car, driven by Leslie Johnson, retired with overheating caused by a failure of the water pump. One of the 2-liter cars was in 4th place and running without brakes when it crashed 2 hours short of the finish, fatally injuring driver Pierre Marchal. The other finished 7th. Crewed by Arthur Jones and Nick Haynes. A month later, the larger engine car, driven by Leslie Johnson and Charles Brackenbury, finished 3rd in the Spa 24-hour race, where one of the 2-liter cars was driven to the 5th by Nick Haynes and Lance Macklin. For 1950, all 3 factory team cars were equipped with the Lagonda engine. At the 1950 Le Mans race, the one driven by George Abescus and Lance Macklin finished 5th, with Brackenbury and Reg Parnell bringing another home 6th, which won Aston Martin 1st and 2nd in the 3-liter class. Across the Atlantic, Briggs Cunningham drove the DB2 to a 2nd in its class at the inaugural Sebring race meeting in December 1950. The factory team cars continued racing in Europe throughout 1951, including at Le Mans, where Macklin and Eric Thompson took 3rd overall, and Abescus and Brian Shaw Taylor 5th. David Brown soon embarked on a series of Aston Martin's designed specifically for competition use, starting with the DB3. And the DB2 debuted at the New York Auto Show in April of 1950 and continued in production until April 1953, by which time 411 had been made. The first 49 had chrome framed front grille in three separate parts and large rectangular cooling vents in the front wings. Subsequent cars had a one-piece grille with horizontal chrome slats and no side vents. The single-piece bonnet was hinged at the front. At the rear of the fixed-head coupe, a small top hinged lid gave access to the spare wheel, and luggage space was behind the front seats, accessible only from inside the car. Later in 1950, a drop-head coupe variant was introduced. At least 102 were built. In April of 1950, an engine with larger carburetors, inlet camshaft, the same as the exhaust, for increased duration and higher compression ratio pistons, was made available. Aston Martin's first Vantage upgrade option offered 125 horsepower. Initially, the higher compression ratio made the engine unsuitable for the British market, as the post-war measures of the early 1950s restricted UK vehicles to 72 octane pool petrol. The first DB2 vintage LML was delivered to and raced by Briggs Cunningham in the United States. Okay, the Aston Martin DB3 and later the DB3S were sports racing cars built in the 1950s. Although they used some DB2 parts, they were quite different, being designed especially for racing. The DB3 was introduced in 1951 with 133 horsepower, with a 2.6 liter Lagonda straight six engine from the DB2 Vantage. The car was unsuccessful, so a larger 2.9 liter engine producing 163 horsepower was introduced in June 1952. The car placed second, third, and fourth at the Silverstone, and May 1952, the 2.6 liter that year behind the Jaguar C-Type. The cars were forced out of Le Mans, but did claim the 9-hour race at Goodwood. In 1953, the DB3, driven by Parnell Abascasis, placed second at the Sebring 12 Hours, and the opening race in the World Sports Car Championship behind Cunningham CR4, and then at a second round at the Mille Miglia, and the Reg Parnell drove a DB3 to fifth place, the highest position ever reached by a British sports car in the Italian Classic. The car was then replaced by Aston's frontline car, known by the DB3S. In total, 10 DB3Ss were made between 1951 and 1953, and then 1 to 5 being used as work cars and 6 to 10 being sold as customer cars. Ended the sporting life, and chassis number 1 was sold to Eric Forrest Green in 1953. Unfortunately, he only used once, and at the 1954 1,000 kilometer Buenos Aires, the car crashed and fired, causing the death of his pilot. After the accident, the chassis 1 was repaired and reformed and used in a competition by the son Jack. Sounds terrible. Several Aston Martin DB3s have received coupe-style bodies over the years. Okay, well, if you found yourself this far into the video, thank you very much. And if you like our video, please give us a thumbs up, because it really does help our channel. And if you like our channel, please subscribe, because we're going to be doing all the cars in the 50s. We'll be doing the cars in the 60s. We'll be doing the muscle cars in the 60s. We'll be doing the sports cars, the supercars, the hybrid cars. We'll be doing car shows and autoramas. We'll be doing custom cars and hot rods, so there's a little bit of everything for everybody. So again, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch our video, and we look forward to seeing you when we upload our next video. And always, always, always take good care. Thank you.